Hi, this is Alison Casey from Kurnell. I'm meeting with Michaela Humble from Bouldercombe. The reason for the meeting is that we are fighting an 800 megawatt BESS located next to 750 million litres of fuel in a rather unique location in Kurnell, Australia. The reason for wanting to meet with Michaela is they already have a BESS and they've had it for quite some time. But first, I'd like to introduce Michaela and to ask who she is and where the hell is Bouldercombe?
Hi, Alison. Thanks for having a chat with me. Yeah, I'm Michaela Humble. I live in a small rural town, Bouldercombe. Population's about 1,000. We're in Queensland, probably about 20 minutes west of Rockhampton. Um, and yes, we do have a 50 megawatt Tesla BESS here in Bouldercombe. It's about 40 megapacks.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about how the battery started in Bouldercombe, like approximately the time and how it all came about?
Okay, so we do have a large substation just on the outskirts of our community, at the main entrance as you head into town. I think it was about 2021 was when the development application was lodged with our local regional council to construct this BESS. It is it's only stage one has been constructed and is operational at the moment, but they do have approval to double its size. So stage two is yet to be built. It didn't get approved until I think late 2022 or early 2023. And then construction of this, it's co-located at the substation in conjunction with Powerlink. So it's on state government land, Powerlink land, and this was like a joint venture that they did together.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Um,
it wasn't really spoken about or advertised. No one really knew about it at all.
so did you get any letterbox drops or have any community drop-ins, or it just one day construction started?
Pretty much one day construction started, and no one really knew what it was or what the construction was. No one was really concerned about it. And this was late or mid 2023, so it's only a couple of years ago, and even then it was all very new. And there really was no concerns. No one knew that it would make a noise. No one knew what it would look like. No one knew that it would catch fire. No one knew the risks. No one had even really seen the plans in our community. Like, it did go through the council. There was no there was no town meeting explaining what it would be, and then it was constructed, built, and then it caught fire, and then it was like, holy, what is this thing? And that's sort of when we all started asking questions. What is it?
So tell me a little bit about the fire that you just mentioned.
So the fire occurred late 2023, just before it was during its commissioning. So it hadn't yet started generating an income. It was all in the commissioning stage. And as you probably know, no one actually works at these facilities, so no one is there 24/7. They, are remotely monitored by, places in Sydney or Melbourne, which is a long, long way away from here. With this fire, it was because it's on the main road. It was called into 000 by a passing motorist. So someone was travelling along the highway at about 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night time, and seen flames, fire, smoke coming from the facility. Called 000, and that's how it was notified to the emergency services. There was no sounding alarm. There was no, big megaphone warning, warning. It was just by seeing it.
So the remote monitoring didn't really trigger any kind of noticing of the fire. So it was lucky that that person was driving past at that time.
Yeah, that's right. So now that I've done more research about the remote monitoring, and they'll say it monitors the temperature and all that kind of stuff. I look back and I kind of assume, like, wouldn't some alert or automatic messaging go back to the emergency services telling them that there's something wrong? Because there's indicators leading up to before it actually catches fire. So the temperature changes, they're not just monitoring the temperature, they're monitoring all different things inside these batteries remotely. So for it to happen so quickly, and once it happens, you can't stop it. Like, you can't just go in and turn a switch off. As soon as it starts, you just let it happen. Like, there's literally nothing you can do, no matter if you're remote monitoring or not. It's not going to save the day. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And then so someone called it into 000. We only live 20 minutes out of town, and we're not a big built up area. Like, I don't know how long it takes for emergency services to get through the cities or whatnot, or what kind of emergency services you have available. So it did only take them, I think it was like 14 minutes or something to get from Rockhampton, the urban, to Bouldercombe. But once they get there, because of lithium battery fires and the hazard they have, you can't just go in and start putting the fire out. They have to call the developer or the owner proponent who owns the facility. They have to get all the information of what's happening with these batteries, how many's on fire, and then, trying to connect through to Tesla in Melbourne, I think it was, to get all this information relayed over the phone. They're still just standing there watching it burn. There's nothing you can do. And then even before they can go into the facility, they have to make sure that it's disconnected from the grid. So emergency services don't do that. That's up to Ergon or Powerlink in Queensland. Not sure what it's like in New South Wales, but so then it's waiting, and it's 7 o'clock at night, so people are on call. They've got to call Powerlink, Ergon, and going through the emergency response log that I got through Right to Information, it was quite a long time before they got it disconnected from the grid, before they can actually get into this facility and find out what's going on. And once it was disconnected from the grid, they lost all the ability to remotely monitor these batteries. So what they're monitoring is the temperature of the adjacent or adjoining batteries, because they, if one catches fire, they do want it to stay in that one battery. They don't want it to propagate to the other ones. So they want to monitor the temperature of the other batteries. And this is where the water comes into play. So a lot of these facilities, you'll hear them, they need lots of water. And the developers will downplay and be like, no, we don't use water for lithium fires. Well, that's correct, but you still need water as a cooling mechanism to stop the other batteries from overheating. So that's why you need large volumes of water, because that's used to cool adjoining batteries that aren't on fire, to keep them going into thermal runaway.
So do they use a foam? Is that what they were using?
No, they didn't use anything. They literally just stood there and did nothing.
Wow. So when you said quite a long time, how long is quite a long time?
For Powerlink to get there, I think it was about 2 hours roughly. Like, once they can't just run in and flick a switch. It's getting some, calling someone, getting them out of bed, driving them there. They're standing around assessing the situation, constantly on the mobile phone to the people that are monitoring the proponent that's monitoring the facility. So they're on the mobile phone to them. We're just lucky that we had good phone reception at that time, because there was no other way to communicate with the owners of this facility. So I'm not sure, what would have happened if they didn't have good phone reception to be able to speak to the people monitoring the batteries. But and then once it was disconnected from the grid, they lost complete ability to monitor the packs. And the urban firefighters had to use thermal imagery cameras to, assess the temperature and then relay that information back to the proponents, and then just it was constantly over the phone of what to do.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And what was the smoke like? What did it smell like?
So they did door knock. So there is a small suburb across the road from the facility, which a couple of 100 meters away. They did door knock and tell them to, turn the air cons off, close their windows, don't go outside, have your medical equipment ready or whatever. They were also in the process, because they had to get on to find out the weather, like which way the wind was blowing and all that kind of stuff. So we're lucky that it wasn't raining, lucky that it wasn't overly windy. And because they were trying to organise whether they had to get the council to get, smoke, cut the highway or put out signs, beware of smoke. But people did say that they could smell it, but it just had this real, not a nice smell. And that's another thing with us too. We all rely on bore water. We all rely on rainwater. So they say there was no threat or whatever, but there's pictures, there's videos of the smoke coming out of this. It's landing on people's roofs, into their rainwater tanks, into the ground, and it was sort of really downplayed for a long time, maybe until 12 months later, where everyone was like, we haven't had any communication from anyone about what happened or how it happened. And that was the biggest concern, and that's, it's lucky that they didn't have to use water, and it was relatively a small fire in comparison to other BESS fires. But it just goes to show, if they did have to use water, I have pictures of, the electrolyte leaking out into the ground from this battery. It's just you have no idea what it is going onto the ground. And if they did have to use water for the adjacent megapacks, that water would have, and lots of it, would have mixed with that electrolyte chemical. And there's a dam just, 100 metres north of that. And that's actually all in the fire investigation report for this fire, that it is just, we're so lucky that didn't happen, because that would have been a major, major environmental mess.
Yeah, absolute disaster. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the community now. What's everybody's concerns health wise? Has there been any testing of the water quality? Have there been any health concerns by the community?
No, not since the fire. I think, like I said again, we're very lucky that it was a small fire, and there was concerns about the rainwater tank, but at the time we were given no advice of how to manage it. We weren't, offered, water testing and all that kind of stuff. So at the moment now, I think people, the main health concern has been the noise and the mental health anguish of it being there, being so close.
Tell me what the noise sounds like.
It's like a humming. It's like a generator. If you get onto, we actually do have some videos of it. If you get onto YouTube and Google, I think it's Crazy Loud BESS, there is a video there of the BESS and someone in their backyard, which is, I think they're about maybe 500, maybe 400 meters away from it. And you can see the lights in the distance of the facility, and you can hear it. You can also hear the crickets, but if you listen to it, you can hear that generator humming noise in the background, and that's what the noise is like.
Does that run 24/7?
No, it's not 24/7. So it's when the batteries are discharging, and because the fan, it's a lot of the cooling fans, because you got a lot of energy in there, and they might have 2 hours to make bank. So they just go flat out for that period of time, and the fans and all that are just running to protect the batteries from overheating during its cycle.
And so when would that noise typically occur for you guys?
It's usually when it has been sporadic. and it goes on the market or whatever as well. But they'll say, and usually it's at nighttime, so around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, those times when people are coming home, supposedly turning on all their stuff. They're saying that that's when everyone's using their electricity, so that's when we're discharging to the grid.
And so what do the locals think about the BESS noise now? What's the general consensus of the BESS? Do they love the BESS? Do they hate the BESS? Or don't understand the BESS?
They hate the BESS. It has been a journey trying to understand it and getting action from the proponent and from our local council. It's been very challenging. So there was, many noise complaints lodged, and it was downplayed a lot. They've done noise monitoring, acoustic monitoring, and we put a lot of pressure onto the proponent that owns the facility and to Powerlink, because Powerlink essentially own the land, expressing our concerns. And since then they have told us that there is new Tesla models that have different fan types or whatever, but that's not an option because that would mean they'd have to rip down the facility and replace them. So this is how quick the technology is advancing. So what you get now, and they say, is like the best of the best. It's so quick. Like it's not like in 20 years time something will better. It's 12 months time, 2 years time is how quick things are moving. So we're stuck with the old mega packs. They have since planted screening, like trees along the front of the BESS to try and mitigate the noise. They've also put in it's like acoustic curtains. They originally did one style acoustic curtains, but it didn't work. So they took them down, and now they've got these like really thick, it's like padded. They use them at construction sites, but they've got that all the way around. And it is quite a small facility. And so now the concern is it's middle of winter, and even though it's not that cold here, when it gets to summertime, because it's so enclosed, now that we're, reducing the noise, but what about the heat?
Yeah, that's concerning.
So there is that concern of like, has it been turned into a hot box now? Is that going to be a problem? So that's sort of where we're at the moment. So, yeah.
So what kind of what could the community do in response to the fire? Did you guys go to court over it, or it just happened and then, you guys just moved on, or what's?
We sort of did just move on. It was sort of downplayed, and, again, it was like, oh, this sort of stuff just happens. And then, the next best development comes along, and then the next one comes along, and then you have, the Moss Landing, and then you start researching about what is BESS, and you go, hang on a second, like this wasn't just a one-off, like this has happened lots of times. And then, the next developer will say, oh, we're going to build one, 20 times the size of that across the road, but don't worry, it's a different technology. That one's an old technology. And so, but at the time, yeah, we kind of, I guess people did sort of not forget about it, like, I'm just like, whatever. And then, the next one comes, and the anxiety of, okay, we've got this one that caught fire, and it was tiny in comparison. At the time, I think it was boasted to be the biggest one in Australia.
Wow.
Considering, yeah, and that's
they're doing much larger ones now. Sorry.
2 years, they were like, and they call it Boulder Cone Big Battery Project because at the time it was the big battery. And it's tiny in comparison to these ones that are popping up everywhere.
So what current proposals do you have in the works now?
So we've got, I think in our electorate, so our federal electorate, which is quite large, our federal electorate of Flynn, I only know this because I was talking with our federal member, there is, I think, over 90 renewable energy projects in our electorate.
Wow.
But in our community, in our small, 10K radius, there's about 6. So we've
Okay.
got the current one that's only done stage 1 that caught fire. Across the road from that, directly across the road, is a 500 megawatt one that was rejected by the council for its development. That's currently in the Planning and Environment Court. Adjacent to the current one, so yeah, it's like zigzag, like pretty much you got a highway and it's just lined.
Yeah.
There's a 700 hectare solar farm proposed that was approved in 2017. It hasn't really ventured anywhere. The developer there now wants to put a 300, I think, or 400 megawatt BESS. And each of these are like, 300 to 500 shipping containers. And then not, another 5Ks down the road, there's another 400 megawatt one, and then another, 10Ks down the road. So it's just the whole highway from Rockhampton to our community is like BESS highway.
Wow, that's huge. And if the small 50 megawatt one is making that much noise, I wonder what the 500 megawatt one noise is going to be like for you guys.
You know,
So what can we do to help you guys in Boulder Combe?
well, at the moment we've been rallying our council. So in Queensland, these developments are not classed as renewable energy. So BESS developments, that is. So, our new government, our new LNP government made all these changes to the planning regulations and stuff for renewable energy facilities. Unfortunately, we scream from the top of our lungs like BESS needs to be included in this because that comes with the new social license that they all have to have and all that kind of stuff. BESS under the planning regulations, its definition has its own definition. So it's not a part of the renewable energy definition. So it's excluded from that. So currently BESS still get assessed through our local council's planning scheme. And so what we've been doing at the moment, our planning scheme is 10 years old. And it takes a long time to update planning schemes, and there's no assessment benchmarks for battery energy storage in our planning scheme. So, if you want to build a shed, there's all these things like it, if it's in town, if it's in this zone, it can only be this high, it has to be this far away. And with BESS, there was like nothing. It could be built 5-10 meters from your home. It's like there's no. So that's been our goal, has been lobbying the council to get moving with making updates to the planning scheme. That's where we're at now. And then we're just continuing to lobby our state government to say, like, hey, you've seriously forgotten about battery energy storage systems. Like, these are major like, as you know, down in Cornell, like, they're major industrial developments. They're not just sheds. They're not a shopping centre or a car park. Like, they're hazardous facilities. And I guess that's another thing in Queensland. We're very far behind in all our regulations with these. I know in, I think, New South Wales, I know in Victoria, they are classified as hazardous facilities. In Queensland, they're not. And so, and then another thing too, like New South Wales and Victoria, I know the Country Fire Authority in Victoria have a very extensive regulation on renewable energy facilities and, how much water they have to have and stuff like that. Again, Queensland Fire Department is very behind in, there's nothing here to say this is what you have to do. It's all best practice. So developers here cherry pick what they want. So, for example, the two BESS developments opposite on either side of the road here, one has decided that they're going to follow Victoria guidelines. The other one on the other side, they've decided they're going to follow New South Wales guidelines. And they don't have to follow any if they don't want to. So that's, we're very behind in that sense. So that's what we're trying to do now, is just keep lobbying the council, the government, WorkSafe Australia, anyone that will listen, and even our state government transmission, Powerlink. all these people, they all need to work together, and there needs to be some really set regulations.
Absolutely. I
Not
mean,
not just guidelines. There needs to be regulations.
yeah, I think the only document that I've been able to find, which is the one you gave me the updated version of last night, which is again just a best practice. There are no Australian standards surrounding renewable energy, particularly site locations. So we
Yeah.
have the 800 megawatt one right next to the 750 million litres of fuel. Directly next to it is jet fuel, which is highly flammable. We then
Mm.
have another proposal by Ausgrid, which is right next to it's an internationally protected wetland. And all of the water runways go straight into the water table, so into Botany Bay and into that protected wetland where there are endangered species. So for us, I think, Australian standards need to be made because you guys are suffering in Boulder Combe, and we're trying to raise awareness here in Cornell. I mean, luckily we're early enough in the project where we can be involved and we can be consulted. And like you guys who, the council thought it was a great idea because on paper, we were the same. We got a little flyer in the mail and it looks like a tiny little battery and everybody's happy, and we just put that in the recycling bin and went, that seems like a good idea for the future, till it started to come to fruition that 800 megawatts is quite a few shipping containers, and there's quite a lot of other environmental factors that need to be considered, such as noise, visual impairment, EMF radiation, and then obviously all the high voltage cables, which I think you're starting to experience now in Boulder Combe, where they will get pulled up and new ones get put in to carry the energy.
Yeah, so they're just about to upgrade because we've got lots of wind projects and everything, and currently, because the government has decided that this is the way we're, going, Powerlink are obligated under the national energy rules. They have to keep the lights on. So they can't say, hey, we don't, So we need electricity, and that's, as much as like some people I've spoken to within Powerlink completely disagree with it. If this is what the government says, and this is what I'm trying to say, like, keep rallying the government, because this is the direction that they've chosen, and Powerlink are sort of pushed into a corner where they have to do this. So they have to upgrade the transmission lines. They have to upgrade the substation, and it's all because the renewable energy and the unstable grid. So they need to reinforce everything, and yeah, they're putting new transmission lines right next to the existing ones, which run along. They're probably looking out the window now, like 50 meters away from like the homes, and they're like an extra 40 meters in height, and they're going to be double circuit, 275, whatever it is. And so, yeah, it's just coming, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really mindful that the time's going to run out with the Zoom recording, but
Okay.
I
I don't
wanted to
know if I've
say
really helped you
you
much.
have really helped us because everybody here thinks that it'll never happen to them and that it's going to be just something that slots in, and we're never going to have to think about it. But yeah, I always think that it's better to be cautious before we start making decisions
Yeah.
that will impact our long-term health,
Yeah.
rather than to. I think the Ampol method that they mentioned during one of the town meetings was the Swiss cheese method, which is, we'll do it, but it'll have holes in it, which we just can't do. We can't have that without
Yeah.
safety in the
Yeah.
community. So,
And I know Country Fire Authority have just released a new battery BESS regulation too that just came out in July. So that's supplementary to their renewable energy facilities regulations and stuff too. And apparently that's the gold standard. They get referenced in so many things. So yeah, sometimes I get a bit like I don't know where else to go.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we'll do our very best to scream about Bouldercombe here from Sydney as well, because I know the feeling, some days you feel motivated and you can keep going. Other days you feel depleted and exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've got another email from council this morning. So council doesn't get to make a decision in these because these are state significant developments. And apparently Osgrid's BESS, which is, very close to my home, is now going to a state significant development. And the council won't take a stance on it at this point in time, which for me makes me feel really angry first. And then secondly, a little bit helpless because like you guys have got the council behind you, which is wonderful. And I really feel like we need to get that council behind us. But
It's taken, they were never behind us at the start, though. Like, it took a lot of public pressure and reminding them that they represent our community. And yeah, they don't get to just make decisions that suit the council. They're supposed to make decisions in the best interests of our communities. And that's what councils are for. And I think a lot of councils are losing sight of that.
absolutely.
Um, and yeah, so I just hope things are turning slowly. And it'll be interesting what happens at the end of the year with the new, energy roadmap, I guess, for Queensland. I'm not sure what's happening in New South Wales, but our new governments, but, we'll wait and see. I'm holding my breath.
Well, let's just try and stay positive because you guys
Yeah.
are doing a great job up there, and we really, really appreciate you taking the time to record this with us, because it's going to
Keep
be really
connecting with other
valuable.
groups and researching, and don't get stuck in the news articles. Just keep looking for the good stuff because that's the stuff that matters. Like news articles are good, but yeah, you need solid stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so keep connecting. I don't read books anymore. I just read like.
Yes, I've got a document this big on our current energy industry precinct. So yeah, I hear you. I hear you loud and
Yeah,
proud. But thank you again so much for your time.
that's
And
okay.
we'll get all this edited and I'll send a copy of it to you and you can go, yay. And then obviously we'll promote it all over social. So thank you so much.
That's
You have a good
okay.
day.
Good luck, Colonel.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.